Anxiety is defined as an excessive or an inordinate amount of fear given the situation. The difficulty I have with this definition is the situation is not always the current situation. Sometimes it's actually triggering past events or past harms or even traumatic injuries that are deep within our unconscious mind. Sometimes they're even out of our awareness or our conscious memory. So it's important to know that when we hear someone say, hey, your anxiety is heightened fear and it's not a normal amount of fear given the situation, to not get too judged by that. It just might appear that way to others, but to you it might appear fully justified to be that nervous or upset. Anxiety can be provoked from a lot of things. It can be related to our history. It might be a current, recent crisis that has happened, or it could be something that we're not necessarily looking forward to, or there's some task ahead that starts to raise our nervousness or fear. What can we actually do to resolve it? In this video, I'll also give you a few book resources at the end of the video, so stay tuned. And if you like any of these videos that we're doing, feel free to hit subscribe or the notification bell so you can get updated when our new videos are released. The first thing we want to do is validate it. All emotions are there to guide us. Think of it like your emotional guidance system or an EGS. Like a GPS directs the car, the emotional guidance system is there to actually tell us something's not right. So validate that for your child, validate that for yourself or your friend or family member. It can be as simple as, I hear you. And you've done that probably many times. When we're in the zone, we normalize it. Hey, it's normal to feel anxiety. But this is not normal. Well, it's excessive right now, and there's probably a good reason for it. Even if you don't know the good reason, let's remind people that there's probably a good reason for that starting to bubble up. Sometimes unresolved issues from childhood don't bubble up or get dealt with until between ages 30 and 60. I asked this young client, probably around 12 years old, to create a collage, maybe a collage or an image or a picture using buttons. You say, why buttons? Sometimes anxiety issues come up in the strangest of ways. So some people might be anxious about doorknobs or anxious about window curtains or anxious about the windows or the drivers on the street. It doesn't seem to make sense to you. Well, this particular young person was anxious about buttons and didn't want to wear clothes or have anything to do with buttons. So developing a distraction opportunity where the person could use the fear-producing stimulus to actually have a fun activity was a little bit nerve-wracking at first. But this person went ahead and did this exercise. And so what we're asking people to do is gradually expose themselves to whatever it is that's the fear-producing stimulus. One person, as I say, might be spiders, another person might be cars, another person it might be the weather or the time of year. A variety of things can really help people or heighten people's nervousness. Many times the surface issue might be representative of an underlying issue that's leading to nervousness as well. Doesn't mean we need to go there right away. That person was able to overcome that particular anxiety. Years later, that person was able to go on and uncover some of the things underneath that anxiety and work on it at a different level. So at different ages and stages, we do work on different levels of things in our life that are bothering us or contribute to anxiety. Oftentimes that negative voice or stinking thinking in our mind develops to this is going to happen negatively, that's going to happen, our face starts crunching up, we start feeling even worse. Not the healthiest view of the future. So to have a more balanced view, it doesn't need to be all roses and sunshine, because that would also be imbalanced. That wouldn't be actually a healthy way of looking at the future. Forcing ourselves to think more optimistically and positively about the future is a counterbalance to the negative. So use a journal, use a workbook, and start to lay out some of the things that you will benefit from by doing the very thing that you're nervous about, whether it's the new job or going off to university, or whether it's the new relationship and committing to the next level of closeness in that relationship. Think about the pros and the cons, the positives and the negatives. Do a cost-benefit analysis. And doing it on paper can help it look, more real and more meaningful right in front of ourselves. as well as build in some of the solutions and strategies to the potential concerns that you have, because they're very valid and real usually. It's just they end up getting blown out of proportion, sometimes by our mind, sometimes by bad past wounds, oftentimes because we're not balancing it out with the positives and optimism. To inject hope is an important part of our work as therapists, and your work, and maybe as a parent or a friend or a family member, to inject hope for the person struggling with anxiety, that you won't give up, that you'll be looking for assistance and looking for help until you find it, and that solutions are just around the next corner possibly. So reminding people, if you're going to think about something to do with the future, think optimistically. Anxiety is generally related to the future. I won't be able to this, or I can't do that. So injecting hope at least gives the counterbalance to help the person have a more balanced sense of the future. Just listening, helping people vent, letting them run through what's going on, letting them go over it. Sometimes that can be problematic, as you know, because we can add to rumination and add to the dwelling on the negative story. However, at least letting them feel like they've been heard, or you getting it out, talking to someone and feeling like you've been heard. Things that comfort, things that can distract, anything that can distract us away from the stress can at least give someone a break from heart palpitations, the tension that we normally feel in the muscles. Whether it's a game, sense of humor, some joking, as well as some comforting activities, whether that's a tub or going out for a little bit of a run or kick the ball around, can be very helpful. Activity levels can release happy hormones, so the endorphins get released. That can at least give us a bit of time away from feeling anxiety. This body, humans, like routine to a point. Too much can be boring, but not enough can be anxiety provoking. So keeping the bedtime routines, the hygiene routines, the meal routines, scheduled roles and rules, who does what around the house, get those back to a normal, healthy level, and even schedule them. Put a schedule on the fridge that helps people know what's coming, when it's coming, whose job it is to do what each day. It can really lower some of the nervousness and uncertainty that is such a part of anxiety. Making sure you save room for downtime as well. We want to be careful as parents not to overschedule kids, and sometimes we're overscheduling kids because we're also living an overscheduled life. Busy, 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 busy. We want to have room for downtime, room to charge your battery, get out into nature, go camping, go for a canoe or a boat ride somehow. Do something that's relaxing and brings us back to a sense of spirit. It's important to think about anxiety as a normal feeling, something that can get into a place where it's out of the normal because it's gripping us day to day, in which case, if none of these things seem to help and you've tried a lot of these things, then professional help is probably something you want to reach out for, or maybe a few good books. One great book for adults is called Mind Over Mood by Greenberger and Podesky. There'll be a link to it on our YouTube page. That book has actual workbook exercises that you can do, and it can really be helpful to understand it better, but also to be able to lower anxiety more intentionally and gradually over a few months. So we do want to be patient. Changing our thinking takes time. A great book to help parents who are struggling with a child who has anxiety is by Katerina Manassis, and her book's called The Keys to Parenting Your Anxious Child. She's a medical doctor who's worked at sick kids for years. A lot of good information there, and some of her work has definitely fueled today's chat. Thanks for even looking into ideas to help you find ways to overcome anxiety. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button or the notification bell, and you'll receive an update when we release a new video. If you have a comment or a suggestion, by all means, let us know other videos you'd like to see us produce, and we'll look to do that for you as well. Have a great day, and remember, take care out there.